Hey, Facebook world, and happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us again for our Winners Wednesday. I am super, super excited to introduce our guest today, Harry Page, all the way from New Jersey, right? So, Harry, welcome today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Micah, thank you for having me. It's an honor and privilege.
Yeah, no, the privilege is mine. And, I got to know, we've known each other for what, a couple of years now, but
Mhm.
just meeting you and Liz in person just recently in the last, month, 5 weeks ago, it was
Right.
just incredible. You guys have just got this energy about you. And I'm really excited to get to know you better today. So, Harry, for those that are watching, can you just give us a little bit about your background and then transition into how you got into real estate?
Sure. So my name is Harry Page. I run the Page Group, and I was a truck driver prior to real estate, and I lost my job. I was I was sick, and it just didn't work out, and I wasn't happy with where I was at, and I had Louis Lieva I grew up with, who ended up being my broker. I went to speak with him at the time, and I told him I was really unhappy with what I was doing and kind of just using him as a soundboard. And he was like, "You should think about real estate. You told me that you wanted to be there for your daughter's kindergarten graduation, but you couldn't because you were driving a truck." He's like, "You can make your own schedule." And then I also made a lot of lifestyle changes, and God was a big part of that. So he was like, when he said real estate, I'm like, no, 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 I'm not into screwing people over anymore. And he said, no, you actually help people out and you do the right thing. And there's a code of ethics that you live by. And then that intrigued me. And then I started to ask more questions. And then he said, you can make as much money as you want. And it's just like really very attractive. And the rest is really history.
So I knew that you guys knew each other. And for those of you watching, Lewis, we've actually interviewed him a couple weeks ago. So he was the broker owner that basically moved his entire brokerage and partnered with us at EXP. But I didn't realize that you guys grew up together. So what did that conversation, let's, dive into that a little bit more. You'd mentioned that you don't want to quote unquote screw people over. So what was your kind of mindset on real estate and what changed that?
I really just thought it was like typical sales, a car salesman, selling something to someone, maybe necessarily not having the best motives, more for self than really doing the right thing by someone.
Right.
And he started to explain like, no, you try to get them a good deal, you look out for them, you negotiate things, you get them in contact with a lawyer, a home inspector, you want to make sure that they're getting a good house. Like from start to finish, you're really just doing your best to protect these people to make sure that they get a good deal, a good house, and get their family a home. And that was very attractive to me.
I love that. And you're right. Sometimes we, unfortunately the industry can get a bad rep because we're in sales, right? But at the end of the
Right.
day, you got to look at it as you're helping people. And we truly are, if you're doing it right. So Harry, you got into real estate. At the time you joined Culture Estate, which was Lewis's brokerage. What are some of the things that you did early on? Because I know that you quickly rose to the top of the office. Out of 100 agents, you quickly became one of the top producers. What did that look like?
So I think what it came down to is, like I said, I made a lot of lifestyle changes at that time,
Mhm.
and I'm a very spiritual person, and I try to keep a mindset of I really don't know much, so that I can remain teachable. And like you always say, right? Ego is not your amigo.
All right.
So I would just listen to what they had to say. I noticed some of the other agents in the office, they wouldn't train with Tom because he was older and repeated himself. And that's what I saw their perception was, but my perception was Tom repeats himself because he's been doing it for so long, and some of this stuff is repetitive. And I
Right.
just soaked up everything Tom told me to do. And after training with him one weekend, I went to an open house. I was doing an open house for an investor that gave me an opportunity. I was new in real estate on a listing. I only took it for, I think, 3.5%. I was just like dying and desperate to get a listing. And I followed what Tom told me to do, how to ask questions, soft closes, then hard closes. I double ended the property the first weekend. And I'm just like, wow.
Wow.
So it really, I believe my success was just listening, to what people had to say and then putting it right into action and not asking them why do I have to do. I just said, Mike, okay, that's what you want me to do, no problem, done. And I just and I really was just not in my way, and I just rose right up. And the people that were asking me how I was doing so well, it's kind of hard to talk to someone where, you know, you feel like you're going to tell them something, but they're blind anyway because they're in their own way.
Right. And I love that you said, you know, our ego's not our amigo, right? And that's one of the things that you've heard me say at the mastermind. And we do get in our own way a lot, or we try to reinvent the wheel. You know, real estate is not new. Real estate sales is not new. So don't reinvent the wheel. Just, you know, they say rip off and duplicate. And that's very much what, you know, I see some of the most successful agents do. So how has your business evolved? You've been in real estate for over 5 years, correct? How
Right.
has it evolved from, you know, the very beginning at that first open house to where you are today?
Oof. It's just I'm letting it organically grow. I'm really I try to keep my priorities in order, which is, you know, God, family, then work. And I had a lot of them out of whack probably for the first 2 years because, you know, you're out there trying to make a name for yourself,
Right.
doing networks, meetings, just doing whatever I could to get my brand out there. And what happened was is I was just getting burnt out. And then a friend a friend of mine had a friend of theirs that was getting into real estate. She asked me some questions. I brought her into culture, and I was giving her suggestions. I saw a lot of people in the business that didn't follow suggestions or do the training, etc. Like I mentioned before, that's what I was doing. That's why I feel like I'm not special. I just follow directions. And I
Right.
was giving the girl suggestions. And then at the time, she was at a salon, and I remember seeing her come in for training. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing here today?" She's like, "Oh, I took your suggestion. I'm going to train with Tom." And then I'm like, and then she asked me if I was going to run a team, and I didn't even want a team in the beginning. I didn't
Mhm.
want to baby anyone or any of that. I just wanted to stay in my own lane, do my own thing. But when I saw her doing all the suggestions, I'm like, maybe there's something here. Maybe I will invest time. She's investing time in herself and following directions. So then it just kind of manifested from there. It started with one person, and then another person hit me up, and we just constantly been growing. Now with EXP, I'm able to do the same thing. And if they're seasoned agents, obviously they don't want to join my group, but I
Mhm.
can still help them get to a better brokerage with better opportunities. So it's going to skyrocket now.
No, I have no doubt. I mean, you guys are definitely on fire. So for your production team, because you know, and we'll kind of talk about how it differs between your organization EXP versus your production team. What are some of the top lead generation things that you do? And you mentioned open house early on. I have personally seen some of your open houses on Facebook, and I cannot believe the amount of attendance that you guys get. So is that your biggest lead generation method?
Yeah, mine is open houses, a ton of social media. We're always on social media. It's probably annoying to a lot of people, but
That's
I
okay.
got I got on Facebook. It really wasn't for personal use. When I
Mhm.
got into real estate, I didn't even have Facebook. I didn't even want it. And even the old brokers that I work for, an old fashioned brokerage, was like, you need Instagram. I got a guy that's 60 something years old telling me I need Instagram and Facebook, you know, if you want to compete in this business.
Mhm.
And then Lewis had uh he had this competition where who could set the most videos in 1 month, they get 1,000 free seller leads. And I
Wow.
literally raised my phone and started a video right there. I was like, you could just give them to me now. And I am very competitive, and I won that month. And Lewis taught me something more valuable, is that I started to see people and they're like, I saw you do this and I saw you do that. And I'm like, they don't like my stuff or comment on it, but it's okay because people are watching.
Mhm.
I'm here to show people what I do and the service that I provide. And I told Lewis, keep the 1,000 free seller leads, because he helped me with something that was more powerful, and that's showing what I do. A lot of my leads, from
Wow.
sellers to buyers, it's all from Facebook.
Wow, that's amazing, and I completely believe with you. You have to build your, you know, I look at it. There's three parts of business: your branding, your marketing, and then prospecting. Branding
Mhm.
and marketing is letting everybody know who you are, what you do, and then we have to prospect, which is probably your open houses, where we
Mhm.
control the outcome and we're getting out there. So, speaking of open houses, what are some of the tips and tricks that you do that you might, advise other agents that have really given you that extra edge?
So what I would do is, number one, I would definitely be on Facebook, boosting things. Like for us, we're in New Jersey, so we're getting a ton of New Yorkers coming over that are just spending unbelievable amounts of money, waiving appraisals from 50 to $100,000.
Wow.
So we're pin dropping it in front of New York to bring them in.
Hmm.
Um, there's different groups you can be a part on Facebook. You just don't know. Instagram, you don't know where your buyer's going to come from that's going to bring top dollar. So my
Hmm.
model is just cover all my bases. And then when we have an open house, hi, Michael, welcome to the open house. Did you come off the sign or off Zillow or Instagram? And then we start to see where they're coming from. And it's usually pound for pound. I think the best is Facebook. Better
Hmm.
than better than the MLS in some degree, because if you have agents that are not doing their research or looking for their buyers, which I see all the time, and they're like, oh yeah, my buyer just put me on an automatic drip. They're not showing them the properties that we're posting up. So we get them through
Hmm.
Facebook by pinpointing what they're if they're on Zillow, Realtor.com, Mortgage Calculator, it's gonna pop up on their page.
That's awesome. No, that's great. And I see that you guys are very active on social media. So tell me about, how you've kind of shifted your business now after, Lewis joined EXP. Obviously, you partnered with him and you joined EXP as well, and you're starting to build out an organization. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about that and what that looks like.
So when EXP came about, I was flying back from Aruba from a vacation, and Lewis said he was
Oh.
coming over. And Lewis never comes over to my house like that. He's just got a lot of things going on. I don't know how he does it. I couldn't tie that guy's shoes. But so when he came over, I was like, this must be something big. I knew something was up. And he sat down with me and explained what he wanted to do, and he was like the pros and cons of why he should leave his brokerage to move to EXP. And it was, all the benefits were for the agent, for himself in the long run, right? And a lot of the other stuff was like a lot of ego stuff, right? He loses control, he loses the brokerage, but it was really small in a big scheme of things. He's always been ahead of the curve. So for me, the unfair advantage that I had that other agents didn't, I grew up with Lewis. I've always
Interesting.
trusted him, and he's always turned things from whatever he started to gold. So when he was going to EXP, I didn't even have questions. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I know he's super bright. I know I'm more of a street smart guy. I'm good at putting me in front of buyers and sellers on how to educate them and close deals. He's good at masterminding things for the future. So, I had a really unfair advantage to people that didn't know him like I knew him. So I was going to follow him wherever he went.
I love that. And definitely, knowing Lewis for the short time that we have, he's definitely a visionary. And so, were you scared to make the jump, or you just put in full faith into Lewis?
No, no, yeah, I had 100% faith in him. He believed in it, so I believed in it as well. So I believed in him, and he believed in EXP. And then, obviously later on, after finding out all the benefits and learning more, it was like, this guy's always ahead of the curve, like. And now we're seeing a lot of people that, some of them that didn't come over and went somewhere else, they're all coming over now. So I
Mhm.
already knew. I said it to Liz. I said, you're going to see all these people leave these brokerages and end up coming to EXP, because once you look at it in black and white and set aside everything you think you know about real estate or your brokerage is the best, and put the ego aside and
Mhm.
look at what's in black and white, it's game over.
Right. There's a phrase, once you see it, you can't unsee it, right?
100%. Absolutely.
So between you and Liz, what are some of your goals? I mean, you've been in real estate for 5 years. What are your 5 year plans? What are your goals?
So in the next 5 years, I would like to continue to grow my organization, continue to let agents know what I'm up to, let them know what EXP is offering for the agents, how it benefits them. I really took a lot away from Puerto Rico, and my mindset right now is, do I want 40 listings and work the rest of my life, or do I want 40 agents and pick and choose when I want to work? And
Mhm.
that's where my mindset has shifted, is that I really want to help other agents um, with their future, just like it's gonna in turn help me with my future. So we help each other. I think there's nothing more attractive than that when it becomes from an I to a we.
Oh, absolutely. I heard the common phrase yesterday. If you want to make $1 million, you need to help 1 million people, right? And so I really think that's what EXP allows us to do. A lot of people think that we're just recruiting, and it's much more than that. You know, even look at Lewis switching his entire brokerage over. That was a very unselfish move. He,
Oof.
like you said, he put his ego to the side, his control to the side, and say, and I remember those conversations I had with him. And it was, what is in the best interest of my agents? That's what kept coming up over and over and over again. And I said, well, not only do you get the ability to have stock and expand globally, your agents are going to have the same thing. And I know that, you know, you in particular, Harry, you were one of the ones that was on top of his mind all the time. So what does it look like in wanting to grow your organization? For those that are not familiar with it, what are some of the things that you're looking to do in order to grow your organization? What does that mean?
So I want to attract agents in my front line. I want to get 40 agents in my front line. I mean, you would be more of a mastermind at breaking down how it goes down.
Right.
But I really just want to concentrate now on filling out my first 40 agents that all cap, and then, you know, help them get other agents to get financial freedom as well.
Awesome. And even share how you've been such a successful agent.
Yeah.
And sharing your tips and trainings and all that stuff. Awesome.
Yeah, we literally just had a barbecue, and I had some people that weren't a part of EXP over and just openly sharing, like, we have nothing to hide. We just want to share and grow together. You know, it's not competitive where it's like, I don't want to teach you too much because I don't want you to outgrow me. My mindset is just like Lewis, and I always thought that was attractive. Is Lewis didn't have a scarce mentality. He would pour into you. If you outgrow him, he would be clapping and be your biggest cheerleader. And that's just all I want to do, is help agents grow. And even if they outgrow me, that's totally fine. That's the whole point, is to just continue to push each other to grow. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I feel like I'm solidifying my roots. Like you have posted about the bamboo, you know, my next 5 years, it's probably not, it's going to be a grind. You know, I feel like I'm starting over in some ways, but I'm excited about it, about the agent attraction thing. And then 10 years from now, I won't recognize my organization, my bank account, and more importantly, my freedom with my family, because that's my why, is my family.
You might be in Puerto Rico with us, right?
Absolutely. For sure.
Oh my gosh. Nothing, you know, yeah. A couple of years ago, if you told me that I was going to move to Puerto Rico, I would have said you were crazy. But that's what it gives you, right? Financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom, which, you know, EXP is one of the few models that I've ever seen where you're actually incentivized to help people grow beyond you. Right. And we're just back to exactly what you just said. It's like you almost want people to surpass what you've done. So that's pretty incredible. Well, awesome. Harry, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers? Something maybe that I didn't cover?
Yeah, I want to thank you. You know, you're really humble. You and your husband have, you know, opened your doors to my family. You always take my calls. You always make yourself available whenever we need help. And that goes to show you, like, you know, you can call people in your family tree, right? Your lineage in EXP that you may have like all the way up here, but you know, because like sometimes I'm like, how does she have time for me? You know, like she's like so all the way up here, and it's like I never feel like you're talking to me like that. I always feel like it's shoulder to shoulder with you, and it's teaching me a lot. You know, I think you guys got a lot of humility in your life, a lot of good things from helping others, and that's all I want to do, is kind of replicate what you and your husband have been doing. And I just want to you know, thank you for, you know, being part of my life and helping me out, and always set aside time to help us out. We really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. And you definitely threw me one here, because now you're going to start making me cry over here. But that's something that, you know, I really appreciate that, because we try to make a huge effort in always being available and not running a top-down organization. So those words are not taken lightly. I appreciate it, Harry. Awesome. So for agents that are looking to, you know, learn more about what you're doing in New Jersey, maybe even join your team or just learn more about your production team, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Give me a call, 862-200-4575.
Awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much, Harry, for joining us today. Please send Liz my love and tell her that we said hi. And you guys keep rocking and rolling. I can't wait to come back up to New Jersey one day soon.
And we look forward to continue to grow with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Bye.